And welcome back to Out with Alan. In this particular post, I want to talk about the importance of coming out. And there's a couple of different aspects of coming out that are very important. The first of which, of course, is the personal. And for me, coming out was rather traumatic. My coming out story began in seminary, and I came out on the campus to the people, and that was, needless to say, challenging at times. I mean, it went better than it could have, and it probably would have at more conservative seminary. But then once that was done, I decided to come out to my family. And that was rough. So in typical fashion, it was Christmas, and I had told my sister beforehand because I wanted my parents to have someone to talk to should it not go well. And someone in the family who had had a chance to kind of adjust to it. Because the thing to remember is, you've had, for as long as you can remember in some cases, to prepare for this moment, whereas they may have not. So bearing that in mind, being a seminarian, I was asked to provide the homily, or the sermon, for the Christmas Eve program at church. So prior to going, I wrote 2 notes, one to my father, one to my mother, and put them in my shirt pocket. And they said, "I love you and I'm gay." And I put them in my shirt pocket and I went. And I remember driving over to the church, and I remember the service. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I do distinctly remember feeling those pieces of paper taking up space in my pocket. And I remember looking out over the congregation. It was a small rural church, red brick, lonely country road, deep, deep south. I mean, very picturesque place. And I remember those papers. And I remember looking out, standing behind the pulpit and looking out over these people in this church that I had been going to my entire life. Generations of my family had gone to this church. Some were buried in the cemetery out back. That type of an environment. And so, looking out over those people, knowing that after what I had to say to my parents later came out to the congregation, it would forever alter the way they see me. It would forever alter the way they would understand me as a person. And that was terrifying. I mean, absolutely, I cannot tell you how frightening that is and how just terrifying. But it's a common experience for gay people. We've all, in one way or another, come to terms with it and dealt with that. So the service ended, and we got home, and I sat my parents down in the dining room, and I gave them each their piece of paper, and they read it, and they were quiet for a moment. My mom got up and left the table, and my dad just sat there. And you have to understand that my dad's a burly man, and he's not one prone to emotion. And he owns a farm, very expert with guns, that type of person. Not the sort of person that you would, walk up to him and flick a feather boa in his face. Just not someone that you would do that to. So he sat there for a moment, and then he got up and left. And I was left alone in the dining room, and I could hear my mom crying. And she was trying to be quiet, but you could hear a pin drop in this house. I mean, I'm not even kidding. It was so quiet. But moments passed, and he came back in. And he sat down straight across from me, and he said, "You are never, ever to bring anybody home." And he was tapping his finger on the table to make his point. "You are never, ever to bring someone home, because I will not be held responsible for what I might say or do." And he said it very sternly, very, very much like that. And I said, "Okay." I mean, I was terrified. I mean, what do you say? And so I stayed for another day or two, hoping maybe they would kind of chill out, it would be okay, but it just was more awkward and stoniness. And I could hear my mom crying, and that it was just awful. And I was told in no uncertain terms that I was going to hell when I died, and he wanted to make sure that I was aware of that and that it was a risk that I was willing to take. And I said I was, and so I went upstairs to my room, and I just cried. I was devastated. I was horrified. I was hurt. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And I wanted so badly to take it back, for it to just not be true, and just to erase all of it and put that pain away and move on with my life as a straight person. But that's just not how it worked out. So a few days pass, and my parents basically, they didn't say leave, but they were like, we're done. It's like, whatever happens to you, wherever you go from here, we're done. And so I packed up my car. I was very fortunate that I had a place to go, because I was living in Virginia at the time, and they lived in South Carolina. So I packed up my car, and I went back to Virginia. And it was awkward, and it was terrible, and it was horrible. But time passed, and I guess about 5 years goes by. And we've talked off and on about it, but it wasn't something that we really wanted to delve into. So we didn't. But I finally met the man that I was going to marry. I was convinced that this was the guy. This was about 5 years later, after all that. So it came time to introduce him to the family. So my very religious Southern family, farm family, has a place on a lake that serves as sort of a central gathering place for people. So everyone goes there, and so we're talking grandparents, aunts, uncles, great aunts, great uncles, cousins, the whole works. And they're there to celebrate Christmas, the birth of their Lord and Savior. And here in the midst of all of this, I plopped my gay boyfriend from the suburbs of Minneapolis. And I was petrified, absolutely petrified. And so my dad comes in, and Michael's there, and I kind of turn away right quick because I'm pathologically averse to conflict. And I'm thinking, oh shit, I've done it. Oh my God, he told me not to, and I went and did it anyway. Oh. But he spotted Michael, and he knew who Michael was because we had talked about it before, and he knew Michael was coming. And so he walked over and introduced himself. And they got to talking, and I have to say, I was impressed. Michael's a very fearless person, and he just went for it and talked, and it's been wonderful to watch their relationship grow over the last 9 years. Because Michael goes with us to the beach with my family every year, and he comes to Christmas regularly. And just to watch their relationship grow has been remarkable, absolutely remarkable. And so I want to encourage you that however it starts out, however your coming out story goes, it is my sincerest hope and prayer that it goes well, and that whether it's awkward in the beginning or not, that your family comes to terms with who you are so that they can love the real you and not this sort of facade that you've created for their benefit and your perceived safety. But that they can get to know the real you, the authentic you, and that you can get to know them because you no longer have to keep people at arm's length. Because one of the worst things about being a closeted gay person is having to hide and having to lie to literally everybody in your life. That's draining, it's demoralizing, and energy sucking. And so once you come out and the chips have fallen, the worst of that is over. Now you never really finish coming out because you meet new people all the time. But that first batch of people, the people closest to you, your family and your close friends, that's by far the hardest part. And so once that's over, the worst is past. You have survived the storm. And so my hope for you is that it goes well. If it's done, that it went well. And if it hasn't, then you're not alone. Other people have had trouble too. But just keep pressing on and show them that being a gay person can be a wonderful thing. and that it's not a curse to be hidden in the shadows, but it's a gift to be celebrated. So I hope this video has encouraged you a little bit, sharing a teeny little piece of my story. Many more teeny pieces to come as time goes on. But I thank you for your time, and I hope that this video was helpful to you. Thanks.